ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got Mother Nature is on my side. Got all of the loving growing inside.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the New Now, and also in this case, In Love Unlimited. I'm here talking once again with I Am Saums. We have just decided a couple of minutes ago to perhaps, as time allows for us, to do a series on love and how that can energetically impact or impound your life, depending on the direction you take with it. And this first one, we have decided to call In Love's Power. Hey, I Am, how's it going?
Good afternoon or good early morning to you, Lorenzo.
Very good early morning. Yeah, it's 6 a.m. for me here in Japan.
Yeah, I know.
So in love's power, what do you think that means? As far as you would say, what would you, let's say, take this conversation to being in something, being in love with something, and what power could mean? So, we'll dissect the title and then go from there.
To me, in love's power seems to be a way of being. Seems to be in alignment with something that's beyond our social reality persona that allows us to be able to get present to the power of that love that we have for, family, friends, people in our lives, but also most importantly, which often is overlooked, ourselves. And the ability of being able to get intimately related with ourselves on a level that many people may either feel is optional or they may feel is irrelevant.
Well, it's something that I've been sitting with for a little while, and I've had a few conversations on the beauty of individuality, right? The way that modern society is saying it's a bad thing. Well, being narcissistic, it's telling you it's bad to be selfish, so to speak, to think of yourself first or to decide what you need first. And I would say it's the most important direction anyone needs to take if they want to grow in love, is to, go in and see perhaps where that's missing for themselves.
Yeah, that's part of the issues, or part of the things that create the issues in our lives, especially in society right now, is because we are always looking outside of ourselves for validation or for worth or for credibility or for truth or even relatedness with reality. And we have been programmed and conditioned to do that for so long that that's just the normal, that's the ordinary. And then we realize at some point in time, or maybe we don't, when we get older and we have more time to sit around, we retire, we go through the whole process of life in such a way that and I was kind of getting into this with the last article that I released, where there's a sequence of events that happen in most lives. You're born, you grow up, you go to school, maybe you go to church, go to university, get a degree, date, get married, have kids, you work your whole life, try and get vacations here and there, and then you retire and get old and die. And that's it. I mean, that's the probable future for most people, because they don't have that connection within, or they don't have that love within. Because I feel that people that are present and aware of the truth within would have a very different experience than most people do these days.
What do you mean by that?
There's a fulfillment and there's an empowerment that comes with that fulfillment when someone is aligned and related and intimately connected with themselves, and not just the personality of the self, because that's the thing that we project out into social reality to be able to relate with. I don't know if you could even call it that. Maybe you associate.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
For the most part, it's more like, in this day and age, in my opinion, it's more that people are committed to association than they are to relation.
Yeah, used to be you'd look for relations. Now, I look out in the world and I'm not quite sure what people are relating to, other than, an idea that seems to me beyond loving, or out of reach of loving feelings for the most part.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing too that I become present to almost on a daily basis, or I attempt to become present to on a daily basis, is that social reality is steeped in instinct and intellect. If you want to call intellect as it is intellect, because that's the jury's out on that one too. Because if you look at it from a standpoint of
Yeah.
true intellectual existence, it's very different. There's a distinction between being programmed and conditioned into intelligence based on authoritarian rule that is essentially preparing you to serve in enslavement, so to speak, within the confines of reality, the paradigm of society. And then there's the intellectual awareness of who you are and who you are being ultimately. And it's being able to break out of the instinctual and the intellectual to embrace the emotional, which is what we're talking about right now, and also to embrace our ability to intuit the alignment with our soul and the universe. And so I feel that in social reality, as we exist in it in a dualistic way, we tend to be inclined to step more into that paradigm, which is very confining. And when we do that, I feel that we prevent or prohibit our ability of being able to get present enough to understand the empowerment of love.
I would say so. I mean, the word stink is instinctual, so it's kind of interesting if you start to look at the underflow, let's say, if I'm going to be a little rude, as in Flushing, of what this society tells you is loving, what this society shares as a way. I started writing something myself in that, you're born, I think you're trustful, you're loving by nature, as I think we all come from love, obviously, or in my opinion. And then you get pushed into one direction or the other, as you said, whether it's schooling or parents or media or your religion or or your friends or your so-called politicians and leaders, and it takes you further and further away from the core of your power, in my understanding of how power is. And by that power, I mean the creative aspects of your loving, we'll say, intuition, and what it is that you would like to experience in your life. I for one was terribly angry growing up because of that.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something there when you said, or when you mentioned the whole thing about turning away from our potentialities to have a fulfilling experience as a multidimensional or a multifaceted being, existing in this paradigm of three-dimensionality with a two-dimensional existence. And
that's
to me, the important part about all of that is that once you turn away from that, you become, well, humanity has a tendency to use its power to focus on things that are in relation to multidimensionality or universality. They tend to focus on things that are so trivial. And within that triviality, whether it's amusement or entertainment or sports or politics or any of these other things that don't really have any substance, they're not going to exist beyond this reality in which we all exist as human beings once we all move on. So I look at it that way in the sense of the triviality of it, because there's so many trivial things in our reality and in our experience of reality that people tend to opt to become focused and put all their power and attention into all the trivial things. And in the process, they sacrifice and surrender their ability of being able to have a deep and true connection with love. I mean, even like they say the what's worse than being alone is being alone with the person that you're with, or feeling loneliness with the person that you're with. And it's I think it's something that all of us experience at some point in time when we allow ourselves to become present and aware of it. But most people don't. You know, they get into that confinement or that narrow path of one thing after the other, and these things are more important. Yeah, let's fill our bank account so we can retire, and hey, let's go and do a vacation. You know, it's all self-gratifying existence to be able to do what we have been told that we're supposed to be doing throughout the course of our lives within our conditioning and programming in our relatedness with social reality. But for me, the things that are most important are the love, you know, or the creative expression, or the imagination, or the intuition, or the universality, or the connection I have with my soul. I mean, that's what's going to put us in the space of being able to be present to that love and be empowered by that love. And that's really important, because I believe that this world would look very differently or exist very differently in the event that we were as present to love than we were to the trivial.